You guys a little bit about how to work this battery tray, get it cut out. So this was all rusted, so I went ahead and cut this with the plasma cutter. You don't need to use a plasma cutter, it's just the reason I use it, less noise. But you can use a cutoff wheel and easily do this, reach in the corners and get a nice clean edge. It's even better than doing this way. I don't want to grind this or clean it up really. I'm just going to grind it afterwards and just put some seam sealer over it. I always smear my seam sealer, like guys. I see them just put it on with a caulking gun. I try and smear it and make sure it's in the crack really good. So I cut this piece out. I got this piece for $5. It was somebody tried to, I don't know, raise the battery tray and flat pan it, they called it, because they wanted to have a lowered car and not have it scrape the ground, but I'm not interested in that. So I had to rebend all the edge. That's why it looks so bad. I'm showing you guys what you got to do this job. So another trick you can use if you're working at home versus if you're using a MIG welder, you're not using an arc welder, you're not using a TIG, which probably most of you guys aren't going to be using that. What you want to do is, I can just show you a little trick. You can just use a drill with a wire brush if you're not going to want to make too much noise. It's kind of early in the morning here, so I don't want to make too much noise right now. So I cleaned up everything with that. I rebent it into shape, cutting the edge. Then what I'm going to do is, when you do these, what you want to do is get it to fit as close as you can, and then clamp it or hold it down really tight, weld one end of it, and then just start hammering it into place as you go around. So and just that's the best way to do these. A lot of guys will try and get it to fit right first. It's almost impossible to do that because the metal that you get these aftermarket battery trays don't fit very good. So, I mean, they don't fit perfect. So anyway, I'm going to do some of that. I'm going to weld it in place, and then I'm going to continue this video. So as I was going here, I'm just thinking of some things that you guys would want to be thinking about right now. Everybody probably wonders, well, how do you get your welds to stick when the surface isn't completely clean? I can't really show you because I don't have a lens that blocks out the light, but what I do is I'll hit it, I'll burn it once a little bit, and what that does is it burns the paint off, and then you wait about a second and then you hit it again, and then what that does is after the paint's off, then the weld will actually penetrate better. So that's a little trick. If you're not getting everything perfectly clean, you can still get a decent weld, and my stuff holds up really good and it's really strong, but it's all in technique. It's not, you should actually grind all this down real clean if you want to get an easier weld. It actually comes out a little nicer. Your welds aren't as lumpy, but I'm in a place where I can't grind. So if you're in a place where you can't really grind, or you don't have one, or whatever the reason is, that's a good way to do your welding without having a clean surface. Just you hit it once, burn off whatever's there, and then hit it. Then wait about 2 or 3 seconds for the smoke to clear, and then do it again, and it'll stick. So I'm going to weld about every 1/4 inch on center all the way around, because if you do have a couple that don't hold for some reason, then you're going to have plenty of welds on there. Or a lot of guys will just weld it this much, and then that's fine for them. But honestly, I want way more welds than that, because I'm doing overlap, and then I'm going to also put a lot of welds on there, and then I'll stitch it from the other side. I'll weld this side, then underneath I'll weld about half as many along there to kind of keep it strong. And then when you seam seal it, you can put a nice you can just glob your seam sealer on heavy, and then you don't see too much of that. So anyway, but this is the, if you want to do show car, of course you're going to butt weld all this stuff. And it's just a totally different system, but I'm showing you guys for your daily drivers how to do your own work. So, okay, I'll show you some more in a minute. Another thing to remember is to make sure you keep your battery far away from where you're welding. If you happen to have a slag drip through, batteries are flammable. So that battery, the gases that are in there will, I've had them blow up before. It's not too scary. Usually they just kind of pop, and then the acid ends up on you, and you have to go wash yourself really good. But I don't know. I just be careful. You don't want your battery to blow up, so keep it far away from where you're welding. One of the other key tools that I use to do this is this is a cheap one from Harbor Freight. They don't last very long. I had some better ones, but they don't last that much longer. So I just keep using these, and eventually the plastic starts to get mutilated. So one of these dead blow hammers, and two reasons that I use a dead blow hammer. You can do this with a 3-pound, or you can do it with a, if you hit it hard enough with this, you're really wasting your time. Get a heavy, big hammers are one of the things you need for doing some of this stuff to get everything lined up. You can see how these corners are getting a little tough. So one of the key things to use is a dead blow hammer. The reason I use one is because it's just not as noisy. It makes about a third or a quarter of the sound of a regular hammer. So the noise doesn't travel as far. Keep your neighbors happy. Another key thing to do in your own work. All right, so I'm going to show you guys roughly what I'm done with. I'm going to have to stop this video here because I don't want my battery to run dead on my cell phone. I just use my cell phone to do most of these videos. So I spot welded about every half to quarter inch all the way around. It looks like hell, but that's because it's not clean. If you use the burn technique that I'm telling you about, those welds will hold. They're not going to come off, but it's a lot more work to clean up. Just so you know, if you're in the situation where you need to weld without really having the metal clean, which is a lot of times where I'm at. Unfortunately, I have to get that tar away and then put a few more welds there. But most part, this is pretty much done on this side, and I'll just do the underneath, and then that'll be it. And then I'll just grind it down. It'll look really decent when it's grinded. I like to just grind it once. So, cause especially on something like this, it's really not very cosmetic. It's just mostly structural. I'm trying to make sure it holds and looks decent when it's done, not show. Okay, so that's that for the battery tray.